All right, so are you ready to dive into the career of one of boxing's most well-known but maybe misunderstood figures?
I'm ready.
Evander Holyfield.
Yeah,
Now I know what you're probably thinking out there.
right.
The ear bite guy, right?
It's hard to avoid that one.
You can't talk about Evander Holyfield without talking about the ear bite.
Yeah, it's going to come up.
But I think what we're going to find as we go through all this material is that
Yeah.
there's a lot more to Evander Holyfield than just that one infamous chomp.
Absolutely.
So let's get into it.
I think what's fascinating about Holyfield is that his career is really a testament to resilience.
Okay.
He embodies this never give up attitude, even when facing some really tough odds.
Yeah, and it seems like those odds were stacked against him right from the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a kid from Atmore, Alabama, the youngest of 9 children.
9 kids.
9! Can you imagine competing for space at the dinner table?
That's a lot of competition,
Let alone thinking about becoming the heavyweight champion of the world.
right? From a young age.
Yeah,
And, you mentioned the large family, but physically, he was kind of a late bloomer as well.
interesting.
He wasn't always this imposing figure we associate with heavyweight boxing, right?
Right.
But that's, I think, where his mental game really comes in.
Okay.
Holyfield made up for what he may have lacked in size with his sheer determination and incredible work ethic.
Which you can see even in his amateur career.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is a guy who was a junior Olympics champion at 13 years old,
Wow.
a bronze medal at the 1984 Olympics.
That's setting the stage.
That's not just talent.
And
That's dedication. That's putting in the work.
Absolutely.
But before we get to his heavyweight battles,
Okay.
we have to talk about
Right.
his time as a cruiserweight.
Yeah.
Because he didn't just win a title.
Right.
He basically cleaned house in that division.
Yeah. His cruiserweight dominance is often overshadowed by those later accomplishments.
Right.
But it really is a masterclass in boxing.
Mm.
He was relentless, technically brilliant, and just possessed this almost scary determination to win.
Yeah, and you can see that in that fight against Dwight Muhammad Qawi in '86.
Oh, absolutely.
15 rounds
Grueling fight.
to secure his first world title,
That's right.
the WBA cruiserweight belt.
His first taste of championship gold.
Yeah.
And that fight really put him on the map, I think, for a lot of people.
Okay.
It showed that he had the heart. He had the chin. He had the stamina
Yeah.
to go the distance with the best.
And he didn't stop there.
He did not.
He went on to unify the entire division,
Undisputed.
becoming the undisputed cruiserweight champion,
The top of the mountain.
beating guys like Ricky Parkey and Carlos De Leon along the way.
Not easy fights.
I mean, these weren't just contenders, these were established names.
Exactly.
And it makes you wonder what was going through his mind at that point,
Yeah.
because he's at the top
He's on top of the world.
of the cruiserweight division.
Yeah.
But then he decides to move up to heavyweight,
It's a big jump.
which, talk about a gutsy move.
It's a gamble.
It's like stepping into the ring with a whole different species.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Moving up to heavyweight, even for the most seasoned cruiserweight, is a risk.
Right.
But for Holyfield, it almost seemed inevitable.
Okay.
Like he was driven by this desire to prove himself against the very best.
Yeah, and to his credit, he didn't just dip his toes in the water, he jumped right in,
Head first,
facing former champs Pinklon Thomas,
right off the bat.
Michael Dokes.
Tough competition.
Not exactly easy opponents, and I was reading about that Dokes fight.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, Ring magazine called it one of the best heavyweight fights of the 1980s.
Wow.
Brutal back-and-forth action,
Yeah.
but a win is a win.
A win's a win.
So he's proving himself.
He's showing he belongs.
Right,
He's not out of his league here.
exactly.
These early heavyweight fights were crucial for Holyfield, I think.
Okay.
He proved he could handle the power,
Yeah.
the size, the intensity of the division.
It's a different ball game
It really is.
than the cruiserweights.
No doubt about it.
Okay, so he's moving up.
Yeah.
He's got these wins.
He's making a name.
And then comes
Yeah.
Buster Douglas.
Enter Buster Douglas.
Okay, so
Okay.
for anyone who needs a refresher,
Right.
Buster Douglas had just pulled off one of the biggest upsets in boxing history
Huge upset
by knocking out Mike Tyson
in Tokyo.
in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson, who at that time was considered practically invincible.
Nobody could catch him.
Nobody.
It was unheard of.
And suddenly the heavyweight landscape is wide open.
Wide open.
What happens now?
Yeah, it was a seismic shift in the boxing world.
It really was.
And in that chaos, Holyfield sees an opportunity.
Okay.
He challenges Douglas for the undisputed heavyweight championship in 1990.
And let's be real. After witnessing that Tyson knockout,
Yeah.
No one knew what to expect from Douglas.
Was it a fluke?
Exactly.
Was he the real deal?
Is he going to fold under pressure?
Who knows?
So it really was high stakes.
High stakes.
For both of them.
Absolutely.
But Holyfield. Being Holyfield.
Right.
He stayed focused.
Yeah.
He went in there and he dismantled Douglas.
He did.
In 3 rounds.
3 rounds.
3 rounds.
It was a statement.
He is the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
Fulfilling a dream.
Fulfilling a dream that many people thought was impossible.
So many people counted him out.
But here he is.
At the top.
At the top of the mountain.
Undisputed champ.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Holyfield's on top.
Yeah.
Having conquered not 1, but 2 weight divisions.
2 weight classes.
But he's in a division full of legends who are all gunning for him.
That's right.
So what happens next?
Let's find out.
So we've got Evander Holyfield, undisputed heavyweight champ, fresh off that victory over Buster Douglas. But let's not forget, there are some big names.
Oh, yeah.
Waiting in the wings.
Waiting for their shot.
For their shot at that title.
Absolutely.
And first up, none other than George Foreman.
George Foreman.
I mean, come on.
Talk about a challenge.
This is huge.
It's hard to overstate how big that fight was.
Really?
You've got Holyfield at the top of his game, facing off against a man who went toe-to-toe with Muhammad Ali.
I mean, this is a legend.
A legend.
We're talking about
Foreman, over 15 years after the Rumble in the Jungle, was still considered a knockout threat.
Oh, absolutely.
It was dangerous.
So imagine being in the ring with that kind of power.
It's intimidating.
That legacy behind you. It's like facing a force of nature.
No doubt.
But Holyfield being Holyfield,
right.
He took on that challenge head on.
He did. And it's a brilliant example of his boxing IQ.
Okay.
His adaptability.
How so?
Because he knew he couldn't trade punches with Foreman.
You can't just go in there swinging
no way.
Against George Foreman.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Right.
So what does he do?
What does he do?
He uses his speed, his agility, his footwork to outmaneuver him.
Interesting.
He had to fight smart.
Right.
And it worked.
He walked away with the victory.
He did.
Proving that.
That win against Douglas was no fluke.
Exactly.
This guy was for real.
The real deal.
He solidified his status as a true champion.
He's conquered 2 weight classes.
2 weight classes.
He's faced down some of the biggest names in boxing history.
That's right.
What more could he possibly achieve?
Well, there was one fight that everyone was craving.
Okay.
Holyfield versus Mike Tyson.
Come on, that's the one.
That's the dream match.
Everybody wanted to see that.
The whole world wanted to see it.
And in 1996,
it
finally seemed like it was going to happen.
It was on.
The hype was real.
The hype was unreal.
I bet.
2 of the most powerful punchers in boxing history.
Oh, yeah.
Both with something to prove.
Absolutely.
It was a promoter's dream.
Oh, yeah.
And the anticipation leading up to that fight, you could just feel it.
You could cut the tension with a knife.
Absolutely.
So we're going into this fight.
Yeah, the favorite.
Tyson's the favorite, right?
He's younger.
Younger.
This aura of invincibility around him.
Right, like this unbeatable force.
A lot of people thought Holyfield was outmatched.
They thought he was going in there against a force he couldn't handle.
Too much power.
Too much power.
Too much speed.
Too much youth. But we're talking about Evander, the real deal. Holyfield.
Exactly.
He was not about to back down from a challenge.
This is what he lives for.
He was not intimidated by Mike Tyson.
Not one bit.
And how did that play out?
Well, he proved it in the ring.
Okay.
The fight itself was a war.
I bet.
Back and forth, both men landing some incredible shots.
You could feel the tension watching those rounds.
The electricity in the air was something else.
But even amidst that, you could see Holyfield's heart.
Oh, yeah.
He was taking Tyson's best punches.
He was.
And giving back just as good.
He could take it.
This guy.
And he could dish it out.
He could take it. He could give it.
Absolutely.
And then in the 11th round, history was made.
11th round, TKO.
Holyfield wins.
Holyfield wins.
By TKO.
Hands Tyson his first defeat since returning to boxing.
I mean, that's incredible.
It was unbelievable.
The Holyfield once again defying the odds.
The underdog. Underdog. Storybook ending.
But we know that's not the end of the story.
The rematch.
The rematch.
The rematch was scheduled for the following year.
Okay.
And things took a very unexpected turn.
Unexpected is an understatement.
It's hard to even describe.
This is the bite fight.
The bite fight.
It's an event that transcends boxing.
It's true.
It's a moment that's been analyzed.
Oh, yeah.
Debated.
Parodied.
Parodied countless times.
Countless times.
For those who haven't seen it,
Good.
picture this.
Right.
It's the third round.
Round 3.
The fight is intense.
Tensions are high.
And suddenly, out of nowhere, Tyson bites Holyfield on the ear.
He bites him on the ear.
Bites him on the ear.
Just takes a chomp.
What?
It was surreal.
Surreal.
A collective gasp went through the arena.
I bet.
The ref stopped the fight.
Okay.
Tyson was penalized.
Okay, so he's penalized. They stop the fight.
Yeah.
But somehow, incredibly, the fight continues.
Can you believe that?
They're going to let them keep fighting.
I know.
After a bite.
Why?
And then he does it again.
He does it again.
This time taking a chunk out of Holyfield's ear.
A chunk.
A chunk.
It gone.
I mean, it's brutal.
Brutal, just
Yeah.
thinking about it. It's a shocking display of unsportsmanlike conduct.
Unsportsmanlike, yeah, that's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
So the fight's over, right?
The fight is immediately stopped. Tyson is disqualified.
Okay, and Holyfield,
Holyfield.
what's his reaction?
His
Tells
reaction,
you all of this.
it speaks volumes about his character.
Really?
He remained calm,
Calm.
collected, even amidst the chaos.
Wow.
He showed remarkable composure.
Remarkable composure.
Well, a lot of fighters would have lost control in that situation.
So I'm sure punches would have been thrown. From
Absolutely.
his corner, at least.
Right.
But Holyfield,
Holyfield,
he rose above it.
he rose above it.
It's almost like he won on two fronts that night.
How's that?
Inside the ring.
Oh, okay.
And with how he handled the aftermath.
That's a good point.
Right.
He showed his true character.
Exactly.
It definitely cemented his legacy as a true champion,
Yeah.
both in skill
Right.
and in spirit.
Amazing.
But his story doesn't end there.
It doesn't. You know what's amazing to me? Even after the Tyson fights, Holyfield's career wasn't even close to over. He could have walked away.
Right.
He had nothing left to prove.
He'd already cemented his legacy
Right. He'd been to the top
multiple times.
multiple times, and yet
And yeah,
he keeps going.
that's that resilience.
This is years later.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this speaks to what you were talking about earlier about his heart. His determination, because look at what he does.
Yeah.
He goes on to reclaim the IBF title in a rematch against Michael Moore.
That's a statement.
This is years after that first loss.
Proving that it wasn't the end for him.
Exactly.
He was still a force to be reckoned with.
And then, of course, comes the Lennox-Lewis fight in '99,
Oh, yeah, big fight.
which still sparks debate to this day.
A lot of controversy.
There was a draw
The first fight was a draw.
in that first fight, and a lot of people felt like Lewis should have won.
Many people thought Lewis had done enough to win.
Yeah, they thought Lewis won.
It was a close fight, though.
It was a close fight,
Very close.
which is probably why they had the rematch
Exactly.
later that year.
Settle the score.
Settle the score, and in that rematch,
Yeah.
Lewis takes a decisive victory.
Lewis was victorious.
But even in defeat,
Yeah.
Holyfield's reputation,
His character.
his
Yeah.
character shines through.
He was always respectful,
Always respectful.
even when the decision didn't go his way.
Never one to make excuses. Yeah.
Never.
Just true sportsman.
A class act.
And you know what's interesting is even as he gets older,
Yeah.
he's still racking up these accomplishments.
He becomes the WBA heavyweight champion for a 4th time.
4 times.
Do you believe that?
4-time heavyweight champion. I can barely lift my coffee cup 4 times in a row.
That's incredible.
That's unbelievable. And I think at this point,
Yeah.
he's not just fighting for himself.
What do you mean?
He's fighting to make history.
Legacy
Right.
cementing his place
Exactly.
in the history books.
And then he has these fights with
Let's see, we got John Ruiz,
John Ruiz,
Hasim Rahman,
Hasim Rahman,
Chris Bird,
Chris Bird, and then
and the Maklay Valuev.
Nikolai Valuev.
I mean, come on. This is a guy who's like a redwood tree.
The man was enormous.
It's incredible that he was still stepping into the ring
David and Goliath.
with guys like that. I mean, that's got to take
Talk about heart.
Heart. determination, willpower. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
It's inspiring. But time catches up with everyone,
It does.
right? And you start to see the losses
Yeah.
outnumber the wins. And you can't help but wonder
What was going through his mind?
the toll that those fights must have taken on him.
The physical toll.
I mean, we're talking about years,
That's decades
decades in the ring
of punishment.
against the best in the world.
The best of the best.
I mean, that has to have a lasting impact.
No doubt about it.
And it wasn't just the punches.
Right.
He even had to retire for a bit because of a heart condition.
Heart condition.
I mean, that's scary stuff.
That's the reality of the sport.
Yeah.
Those risks are always there.
And yet,
He comes back.
unbelievable.
Doctors are telling him, you need to stop.
You got to hang up the gloves.
And he's
He
like,
did it.
not done yet.
One more round.
What do you think was driving him at that point?
I think at that point it wasn't just about titles anymore. It was about something deeper.
Like what?
Maybe testing his limits,
Okay.
proving something to himself. It's almost like this inner drive that he
And
had
through fire.
that just wouldn't be extinguished.
It's remarkable.
It really is.
You think about his life. This kid from Alabama, youngest of 9,
Yeah,
facing down giants in the ring.
right. Defying the odds every step of the way.
It's a storybook career.
It really is. And even after officially retiring,
Even then.
he participates in exhibition matches for charity.
That's right.
Like that one with Mitt Romney.
Can you imagine it?
Evander Holyfield and Mitt Romney in the ring
For charity?
for charity.
That's amazing.
It's kind of comical to imagine, but it just goes to show
His character.
his character, his willingness to use his platform for good.
He's more than just a boxer.
Exactly.
He's a philanthropist. He's a father. He's a symbol of perseverance.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive on Evander Holyfield,
Yeah.
where do you think he stands among the boxing greats?
That's the question, isn't it?
Right.
That's the debate that could go on for days.
People are still arguing about it.
They'll be arguing about it for years to come.
But for you,
For me,
where does he rank?
I think it goes beyond rankings.
Okay.
Evander Holyfield's career is a testament to the human spirit.
Okay.
It's a reminder that we're capable of achieving extraordinary things when we set our minds to it.
I love that.
He taught us about resilience, about heart, about getting back up, even when life knocks you down.
Wow. I have to say, you've given me a whole new appreciation for Evander Holyfield.
That's what we like to hear.
He's more than just the bite fight.
He's an inspiration.
He's an inspiration.
I
And
keep the beauty of a deep dive.
you never know what you might discover.
That's right.
And to our listeners out there, thank you for taking this journey with us.
We appreciate you.
We walked through the triumphs, the controversies, the unwavering spirit of Evander Holyfield.
What a career.
What a career. And as always, keep exploring, keep asking questions, because there's a whole world of fascinating stories out there waiting to be uncovered.
We'll see you next time.